Yes, the boys and the girls. Right, this video is about the free trade in Pelsall. And I know what you're thinking, but you're not in Pelsall, Baz, you're in bloody Lichfield. I know I'm in Lichfield, but please, for the love of God, don't you lot start getting on at me. All I bloody need. I'm only joking. Anyway, the free trade in Pelsall. Let's get into it. Right, the main sponsor of this week's video is J. Regan Decorators, based in Cheslin, eh? So if you need your wall painted or your door sanding, then make sure you give him a shout. He also does all the Venetian stuff as well, so I'd really recommend his service. If you are in the market for a decorator, then make sure you check out either his Facebook with his 100% recommended reviews, or you can give him a shout on this phone number and he can give you a quote, or you can check out his website to see some of the previous work that he's done in the past. If anyone does get in touch with Mr. Regan for his decorating skills, then please mention that you came from these videos, as it really helps me, and I think that's it. I think that's all it helps. But no, it does help me, guys. It really does. If it wasn't for the people that sponsor the videos, then I probably wouldn't be doing the videos. So big yourself up, the guys. I appreciate ya. Anyway, back to the video.
In Wood Lane of Pelsall, a barman went down into the cellar of the free trade inn. A few moments later, he came bombing back out in terror. He claimed that an elderly grey-haired woman was sitting below, her head buried in her hands, sobbing. He cleared the bar, refused to enter the cellar again, and became part of a ghost story stretching back generations. Today the pub is gone, the building on Wood Lane has been converted into 3 homes, but the story of the woman in the cellar is only one part of its history. For nearly 3 generations, this place stood beside Pelsall Common in the canal, serving ironworkers, miners, boatmen and generations of local families. This was the free trade inn. Local historians believe the oldest parts of the building dated from around 1735. There is some physical evidence behind that date. During refurbishment work, an old cast iron arched window bearing the date 1735 was reportedly discovered behind the plaster. That tells us something about the age of this building. What it doesn't prove is that it was already operating as the free trade inn in 1735. The name may have arrived later, during Pelsall's industrial expansion. However, by the Victorian period, the pub was firmly connected to the working life of this part of the village. Across the canal stood the Pelsall Coal and Iron Company, with its furnaces, mills, forges and workshops. Hundreds of people worked around the site, surrounded by the heat, smoke and constant noise of the heavy industry. According to Pelsall's local history records, the first presently known landlord of the free trade inn was James Fox in 1870. The pub would have been familiar to the ironworkers and the miners, travelling along Wood Lane. One local account says that boys from the ironworks were sent to fetch beer from the free trade, carrying it back in 2 buckets suspended from a wooden yoke. Nearby stood the company's Tommy shop, where workers could exchange company tokens for goods. The canal carried coal and industrial traffic past the site, while Pelsall Common looked very different from the open landscape we know today. We also know that the pub was used for official local business. In May 1882, an inquest was held at the free trade inn into the death of a 19-year-old John Timms. John was a boatman from Birmingham. A newspaper report says Timms was steering a boat along the canal when he attempted to pass from one boat to another. He fell into the water and was crushed between the two. Although he was dragged from the water within minutes, he unfortunately died. The jury returned a verdict of accidental drowning. That part of the story is not folklore. It was reported in the press at the time. As Pelsall changed, the free trade remained part of the village life. The Reminiscence, published locally in the 1990s, recorded miners walking to pits around Norton Keynes early in the morning. After a bath and a meal, some would finish the day with a pint at the free trade inn. The same account remembered the pub's connection with pigeon racing. On race days, an official timing clock was placed in the window, and when a pigeon returned, its identification ring was removed and rushed to the clock. People apparently lined the roadside, shouting encouragement to the runners as they raced towards the pub. Another local resident, Mrs. Broadhurst, remembers standing on the wall near the free trade as a small child during the First World War. She said that her father lined her up so that she could see the Zeppelin crossing the dark sky as searchlights attempted to find it. These are personal memories rather than the official records, but they do give us a sense of the life that once surrounded the pub. The free trade inn continued to adapt. Newspaper cuttings recorded refurbishment work and the development of restaurant facilities, while an advert from 1992 announced the opening of a new restaurant. It also remained involved in community events. During the Golden Jubilee celebrations in 2002, heavy rain interrupted a local street party. Pelsall Times records that landlord Ray Gallagher opened the upstairs rooms to the families taking part. including around 130 children. The pub also entered floats into the Pelsall Carnival, but alongside its community history, the free trade acquired another reputation. People said it was haunted. Its best known supposed ghost was a woman called Alice. She was believed to have been the wife of the former licensee, and was said to have died during the 1970s. By 1998, Alice was being discussed in local newspaper reports. There were tenants, customers and former licensees that described unusual incidents inside the pub. Some people also reported seeing a female figure wearing Victorian clothing. Cellar taps were said to have turned themselves off. Tills apparently switched back on during the night. Ornaments fell and children were reportedly heard laughing when no children were present. Those reports show that the pub had a well-established haunted reputation by the late 1990s. They obviously don't tell us what caused the alleged disturbances. Later accounts recorded by Pelsall Times added further details. On one occasion, a heavy door was near the bar and was said to have started banging without explanation. The temperature reportedly dropped, frightened a member of staff so badly that they jumped across the bar and refused to return. Alice was supposedly fond of brandy. When a bottle of brandy turned sour, she was blamed for that as well. The second presence associated with the pub was known as Sarah. Her story was said to reach back to the 1860s, although no historical record had yet been found identifying who Sarah actually was. She was the elderly woman the barman claimed to have encountered in the cellar. The woman sitting with her head in her hands, sobbing. According to an account passed on by former landlord Ray Gallagher, once the barman realised that the woman should not have been there, he fled. Despite his considerable size of 6'5", he was apparently so frightened that he cleared the bar and refused to ever enter the cellar again. Ray Gallagher also described the discovery of a previously unknown room that had been bricked up. It reportedly contained decorative stained glass windows and a fireplace. In an old building altered repeatedly over generations, hidden rooms, unexplained noises and cold drafts could easily encourage ghost stories. Whether they explain everything people claim to experience is a completely different question. The free trade eventually closed and stood boarded up for years. Planning permission was later granted for its conversion, and building work was underway in 2018. The former pub became free homes. The bar, restaurant and fruit machine disappeared, but the memories remained. Ironworkers and miners, boatmen and pigeon racers, and stories told across generations. And then there was Alice and Sarah. We may never know exactly what happened inside the Free Trade Inn after the doors were locked and the bell rang for one last time. But while the pub itself is gone, its history and its ghosts have proved rather more difficult to remove.